Afternoon. So today I'm going to present on truly only a small portion of my larger project entitled The Photograph as Evidence, Contingencies of Meaning and Mattering. But before I begin, please take a moment to study the photograph on the screen. What do you see?
I see like a Ford Bronco and streetlights.
Stevie Nicks. Speck of dust.
What?
A speck of dust.
A speck of dust? Okay. Anybody else?
Glitter.
What? Couldn't hear.
Glitter.
Glitter. Oh, okay. Great. Thanks. Glitter definitely can make sense. When you photograph glitter out of focus, it gets big and round. Streetlights as well, the same thing. So we've got both, small things and big things possibly happening here. We can all definitely agree that it's out of focus, right? And it's very dark. There does seem to be a mist at the bottom that could be dust or smoke or, who knows what. I received this image, cavern003.jpg, about a year ago, and it was accompanied by the following text. I had an experience at the Grand Canyon on Highway 66 over the Christmas holidays. You will notice the entities wearing full Native American headdresses. Look at the photograph again. Do you see them? Like you, this text forced me to do a double take. But as soon as I looked again, primed with this new information, I did indeed notice entities wearing full Native American headdresses. Why could we not see them before? I began collaborating with paranormal investigators in the late 2012. In exchange for my knowledge of photography and the technical workings of the medium, one of the leading investigators in the United States taught me the scientific methods for researching the paranormal. From orbs to mists, I learned the difference between an out-of-focus speck of dust and the energy of a spirit. Note the particular iridescence here, which is unlike the rest, which investigators believe is more indicative of an energy than the other orbs that you see there. And after learning things like this, I was trusted to analyze photographs to rule out images that may seem to contain evidence of the paranormal, but actually are only evidence of the normal artifacts of camera, lens, or light. Many photographs came from regular people seeking an explanation or a validation of their suspicions. The rest came from other paranormal investigators seeking a second opinion on images from a recent investigation. In my time as a photo analyst, I have never seen a photograph for which I was unable to provide a plausible non-paranormal explanation. However, cavern003.jpg has stayed with me ever since. Why could I not see these entities before? These entities materialized out of nothing, transforming from invisible to visible. I began to realize that my training as a photographer was foreclosing possibilities for how the photographic image could come to matter. To this anonymous person, these entities were as clear as day. But to me, and most of you, we were only left with a hazy mist. The text opened up the possibilities for this image for me, and an out-of-focus, dark photograph of nothing produced an image of entities wearing Native American headdresses. I realized that the act of viewing a photograph could be as constructive as making a photograph. These entities matter in both senses of the word when I see them for the first time. And I realized that the simple act of viewing photographs matters as it enacts the materialization of a photographic subject. At its foundation, photography allows for the materialization of light. As you can see in these microscopic images of silver grains on a piece of photographic film, light marks photosensitive materials and leaves a physical trace of a person, place, or moment. This seems like a simple and natural process. Photographic evidence fixes light and therefore proves a person, place, or moment's existence. However, the nature of light is anything but fixed. These images from a recent double-slit experiment demonstrate the indeterminate nature of light. An electron is shot one at a time toward two thin parallel slits. Like shooting a round of bullets, the impact of each and every electron is revealed on the recording device. We would expect to see two areas of impact, matching the positions of the two slits. However, as more and more electrons are sent towards the openings, a wave pattern materializes. double-slit experiments revealed light's dual nature. Prior to experiments like these, scientists only observed light acting like a particle or a wave, but never both. Scientists realized that the experiments themselves, the mere act of observation, affects whether light behaves like a particle or a wave, or both. This indeterminacy of light seems especially apt with regard to the photographic image. As physicist and theorist Karen Barad looks to theories of light to explain the indeterminacy of all matter and meaning. The simple act of observation marks a moment of production. Within science, an experiment produces particles of light, light waves, or both. The nature of light is existentially dependent on the experiment itself. Therefore, in observing the photographic image, could the subject of a photograph be as indeterminate and existentially dependent as light? Let's step back to the 19th century, when photography was still in its infancy. In the summer of 1875, in Paris, France, photographic evidence was presented to the court in a high-profile trial. Witness after witness took the stand and positively identified the persons depicted in the photographs. However, the evidence under scrutiny was the photographic subjects themselves, the spirits of long-dead individuals. Beginning in the 19th century, the spiritualist movement occurred primarily in the United States, Britain, and France. Spiritualism's core tenet maintained that the human soul survived after death and could communicate with the living. But unlike religion, spiritualists relied on the testimony of spirits in place of a theology. The spiritualist movement represented a modern fusion of science and faith, an avant-garde of new rationality reflecting the recent developments in scientific methods at this time. Over the course of 2 centuries, scientific beliefs had slowly replaced religious convictions, and spiritualists embraced scientific rigor. One leader, Pierre-Gaëtan Lemery, wrote that photography could be the prime instrument to rationalize spiritualism. Lemery believed that photography would allow spirits to give irrefutable proof of their existence, and he implored spiritualists to become photographers and for photographers to become spiritualists. Soon after, the spiritualist photographer Edward Bouguer caught Lemery's attention. Maintaining an air of scientific rigor, Lemery, along with engineers, chemists, and other photographers, scrutinized Bouguer's work. Finally, in 1874, Lemery championed Bouguer, proclaiming, "One can, with confidence and without a second thought, visit this photographer." One such portrait shows a girl standing stiffly for the camera. She holds a large book just above a wooden table. She avoids eye contact with the camera, but seems unaware of the ghostly apparition in front of her. Wrapped in a flowing gauzy sheath up to the neck, this transparent figure hovers before the child. This equally young spirit raises its arm, seemingly to stroke the girl's face with its silken cloth. The rest of the fabric flows down to the floor, obscuring its unseen body. Below, the portrait, it reads, "Jane Lemery and the spirit of Mademoiselle Finot." Jane Lemery was the spiritualist leader, Pierre Lemery's young daughter. I have found no record of Mademoiselle Finot, but she was likely a friend or a family member who died young. However, in this analysis, their relationship with Finot matters less than the fact that Pierre and Jane Lemery identified Finot's spirit as the subject of this photograph. However, there is more to this matter, or as theorist Karen Barad would say, this nature of mattering. Within Barad's theories, matter is not simply the property of things, but is dynamic and productive. Depending on the act of observation, light comes to matter as an electron or wave or both. Here, Pierre and Jane Lemery viewed the portrait, and in so doing, enabled the materialization of Finot's spirit as the subject of this photograph. As clients flocked to Bouguer's studio, however, the police became suspicious of Bouguer's work. Within 6 months of Lemery's announcement, both Bouguer and Lemery were tried for fraud. Bouguer immediately confessed and condemned Lemery. However, Lemery responded by collecting nearly 150 reports from clients who, despite the revelation of the trickery involved, maintained that the subjects of their photographs were indeed lost loved ones. Lemery presented these eyewitness accounts to the court as a foil to Bouguer's confession. And in so doing, Lemery called into question the very definition of photographic evidence. While Bouguer may have thought himself to be a fraud, his clients argued that Bouguer's photographs undeniably depict the spirits of the dead. As for the court, the clients asked if identifying a criminal in a photograph was sufficient evidence to convict, then how could the jury rule out the ability for these individuals to identify their loved ones? Both Caverns 003 and this portrait of Jane Lemery with the spirit of Finot present the otherwise unseeable. Finot's spirit, invisible in Bouguer's studio, appears in the image fully formed and unmistakable. And today, the entities wearing Native American headdresses are equally fully formed to those who allow for the possibility for them to matter. While there are more than 100 years between these two photographs, we are still left to ask, what can photography be evidence of? Eventually, Pierre Lemery was acquitted. A doctor swore before the court that Lemery's identification of Finot's spirit in this photograph was unmistakable. Finot's spirit may not have appeared in Bouguer's studio, but as acknowledged by the court, she has irrefutably come to matter. Bouguer and Lemery's trial demonstrates how photographic subjects are made and remade, stabilized and destabilized. By looking to the indeterminate nature of light, we could expand the possibilities of what a photograph could be evidence of. Photographs as evidence can only attest to the circumstances that surround the act of viewing, and in so doing, photographic subjects materialize out of meaning and take on meaning as they materialize. Thank you.